The following little slideshow will give a brief overview of our municipality's role in the upcoming general local election. Afterwards, if anyone has more specific questions that haven't been answered in the presentation, just feel free to send us an email and we can hopefully answer anything that comes up. Welcome to everyone that's here who's thinking of either running or running again for council. I'm going to look that way. So as you can see on the screen, the eligibility requirements are that you be 18 years of age, a Canadian citizen, a BC resident for 6 months before nomination, and that you not be disqualified by law from voting in an election in BC. Also to note, candidate residency in the jurisdiction is not required. So you do not have to live or own property in the area where you're running for office. Being on council requires a great deal of time, as we've definitely touched on. As you can see, for the District of Ucluelet, annually scheduled meetings, there are between 21 and 24 per year. Some of them include committee of the whole meetings, but there can also be 2 to 3 standalone committee of the whole meetings. 3 to 4 Harbour Authority meetings are scheduled per year, and then additional public meetings, special public meetings, and public hearings are as needed, so they're over and above what's scheduled annually. Also annually is the budget review and planning, as well as local regional committees, public appearances, events, political events, and annual conferences that you touched on in your slideshow as well. And then related to beginning a term, we have the newly elected officials training in November, followed by department orientations in November, and also then in March, the council strategic planning. The agendas are provided to each council member 5 days before the date of the upcoming council meeting, and they can be, as we've touched on and as you showed this upcoming copy, they can be hundreds of pages in length. These are some of the key dates just for the upcoming 2022 general local election. I'll touch on the nomination period and the submission of packages in a moment. But moving to the next one there, the declaration of candidates, that will happen at 4 p.m. on September 9th. Then there's a small period of time in which candidates can withdraw if needed, and that ends on September the 16th. On September 19th, we will host a short meeting in which the names of all the candidates will be drawn or picked out of a hat, you might say. The order in which the names are pulled is the order in which the candidates' names will appear on the election ballots. The only people that can attend that meeting are the candidates or their official agents, and other people permitted by the CEO. There will then be 2 dates in October in which the community can vote, October 5th and October 15th. On both dates, the doors will open at 8 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. By October 19th, the official election results will then be declared. So the different roles of the election officials. Joseph Rotenberg, as you can see, his contact information is on the screen there. He's the Chief Election Officer for the 2022 election. He's also, he's responsible for administering the election and for delegating responsibilities and powers to other election officials. There are 2 Deputy Chief Election Officials, myself and Samantha McCullough. Our duties are to perform the duties of the Chief Election Officer if he's absent or unable to act. And then the last category there of the election officials, we're currently in the middle of the hiring process for election officials, and their role is to oversee the vote and exercise authorities delegated to them. Voters are broken into 2 different groups, and it is set out a bit more explicitly on our website on the Elections 2022 page. The two groups are resident and non-resident electors. So to be a resident elector, you live in Ucluelet, and then all the other qualifications it speaks to on the slide there are things such as, but not limited to, being a Canadian citizen, being 18 years of age or older on the day of registration. There are, as I said, a list of qualifications on our website. Corporations, businesses, and permanent residents of Canada who have not yet become Canadian citizens are not permitted to vote. Non-resident property electors are people who own property in Ucluelet but live elsewhere, and they meet all other qualifications. Again, those other qualifications are listed on our website. They can't vote more than once, and there's only one vote per property, even if two people are on title. The one thing to note is how to confirm if where you live or own property is actually within the boundaries of the District of Ucluelet. For example, in our area, some residents might have a Ucluelet postal address, but they're actually located in an electoral area of the ACRD. For example, residents of Millstream in our area are actually located within ACRD's electoral area C, Long Beach. A good way to confirm if you are a resident or non-resident elector in Ucluelet is to just check your property tax notice and to verify who you pay your property taxes to, if it's the District of Ucluelet or the ACRD. If you're still unsure, just feel free to give us a call at the district office and we can point you in the right direction. The voters list, the provincial voters list is provided to us securely from Elections BC, and it forms part of the final list of electors. This document contains personal information and it is confidential. Each candidate must complete a form acknowledging receipt and return of the document if they wish to have a copy. Candidates who have a copy are then responsible for storing the document in a secure place, protecting the confidentiality of the list of electors, and ensuring that all people in their organization do likewise. Nomination packages are now available at the district office. We're open from, what are we open from? 8:30 till 4 p.m. Monday to Friday, excluding stat holidays. When you come to collect your package, the staff at the front counter will just take your contact information from you at that time. The nomination period begins at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, August the 30th, and ends at 4 p.m. on September the 9th. During this period of time, the nomination documents will be received by the Chief Election Officer. We strongly encourage people to make an appointment with the Chief Election Officer before that end date of submission to hand in your nomination documents, and just allow plenty of time before the deadline so that if there's anything that you need help with on one of the forms or something you need to understand, some of them need to be signed, some of them need to be witnessed and signed. So just allow enough time to go through those documents with the Chief Election Officer so that you have a complete package in by that deadline of 4 p.m. on September the 9th. One thing to note as well, I did put a comment on there that portions of the nomination package will be available for the public to view. This is a requirement of legislation. The Form C2 that's in the nomination package, as well as the Statement of Financial Disclosure. Those are the two forms that are available for public inspection, not the whole package. There are different agents that can be representatives of each candidate. There's the financial agent, and that so each candidate is responsible to excuse me, I'm lacking a word here. Each candidate is responsible to appoint someone to be their financial agent. Candidates can also appoint an official agent and scrutineers. You don't have to have each one of those. The only one you do have to appoint is the financial agent. You can also appoint
I was just going to add one thing if I could. If you don't appoint a financial agent, you can act as your own. Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then also, the official agent can be the financial agent as well. So there can just be the one person that fulfills both those roles. It does show on the slide here the different things that those representatives do. And then the scrutineers observe the vote and ballot counting. I have noted on the screen as well each form number that would be submitted in order for you to appoint these people to the CAO, and they should form part of the nomination package. The campaign period begins on September 17th and ends on October 15th at 4 p.m. Elections BC is responsible for overseeing campaign financing in accordance with the Local Elections Campaign Financing Act. Once the Chief Election Officer has received your nomination documents, he'll forward the relevant ones to Elections BC, who will then be in direct contact with each candidate. As outlined by Elections BC, all candidates in the 2022 local government elections have expense limits that apply during the campaign period. Each jurisdiction has its own limit, which is based on the population of the election area. The expense limits for Ucluelet are for mayor candidates. It's on the screen, $10,797.83, and for councillor candidates, $5,398.92. If you have any questions about that, please contact Elections BC directly. Election signage cannot be displayed before September 15th and must be removed by October 16th. There is something we refer to as the 100-meter rule, which means that election signage must not be placed within 100 meters of the Ucluelet Community Centre, as this is our voting place, during voting on either October 5th and October 15th. And in the nomination package, there is actually a map that shows the radius of how far that extends, so that you don't place any signage within it. Also, the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure has policy on highway rights-of-way, meridians and things like that as well. And all of that information is also in the nomination package in detail. These are some things, a few of the common things that can be considered as election offenses. Some of them are more subtle than others. Vote buying, accepting an inducement to vote, intimidation, advertising on general voting day, falsely withdrawing a candidate or an endorsement, fraudulently voting, interfering with ballots or ballot boxes, canvassing or advertising within 100 meters of a voting place, and any other activity contrary to the Local Government Act. The nomination package also has the Act in there as well, so you can find out more details. Traditionally, the Ucluelet Chamber of Commerce has hosted an all-candidates meeting. That's not something that the District of Ucluelet is able to host. So if they do plan on doing that this year, they'll be in touch with candidates directly with details of the upcoming meeting or date. After the election, it's important to note that candidates must file the campaign disclosure statements with Election BC by January 13th, 2022. By January 13th, 2023. Elections BC will provide details, forms, and reminders to each candidate about that, and late penalties will apply. You touched on earlier, the inaugural meeting will be held on November 1st, 2022, and then newly elected officials training sessions will start in November of 2022 as well. There's the contact information on screen now for if anybody needs to send an email to the Chief Election Officer, or myself and Samantha can also be reached at the contact on the screen. And we just want to thank everybody for your interest in running for council. It's an exciting time of the year or the term, looking at a new term. Let me know if you have any questions. If there aren't any questions right now, I'll turn this over to Wendy Thompson from the ACRD.
It's one question. It doesn't necessarily matter to 2 out of the 4 of us, but the other 2, the November training for the newly elected officials. What if you were fortunate enough to be reelected and you were in Costa Rica during the time frame of that November training? It's a little personal here. I'm just wondering if that is a mandatory.
It's not mandatory. It is highly recommendable to attend. It's also good, even if being reelected, to have a refresh. I will get back to you a little bit later, perhaps in the upcoming week, and let you know if I'm not sure whether it's going to be recorded. Maybe that's something that we can look at, so that, or if perhaps you could join virtually. So it's certainly something that I'll look into. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. My name is Wendy Thompson. I'm the corporate officer for the regional district, and lucky me, off the side of my desk, I get to be the chief election officer for the 2022 general local election. So I run the election for the regional district electoral areas, and I also run the school district 70 election as well. I want to thank the District of Ucluelet for allowing us to participate today in your candidate session, to thank Allison for touching on school district and regional districts and what they do. Ucluelet has highlighted, or Paula has highlighted, several rules around elections, campaigning, and all of that. All that applies to us as well, so I'm not going to get into the same thing. Most of it applies. We have a few different rules. For example, we don't do voters list. We do what's called same-day voting. So that's one difference. But other than that, most rules are the same. The other thing I was going to mention is we require 2 nominators, and they have to be qualified electors within the area. I'm not sure, what does Ucluelet do 2 as well? I know the city of Port Alberni, they require people that are running 10 nominators, so they have to go out and get 10 nominations. Yeah, larger places do tend to do that, I believe, because they get more people. I don't know if you could comment on that one, Allison, or if it's just, they get a lot more interest, or.
I think it's really to discourage frivolous candidates. So, Vancouver's had notorious long candidate lists. So I think that's the rationale.
A bit more work, I guess, more serious about running. Great. So did the most run away? Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'll just quickly go over regional districts. Allison has touched on it. So we're established by the province in 1966, and we are a federation. That is true. So our regional district has 13 member jurisdictions, so I've just outlined them there. So the election I'll be running is for the 6 electoral areas. Then we also have 3 municipalities on our board, and 4 treaty nations, which Allison had mentioned that we're a pioneer on that, and pleased to have them. They've been a great addition to our board. So again, we basically provide services. So we're a governing body responsible for setting the vision and formulating policies, responsible for the services provided and actions taken by the board. So again, I'll be running the election for the 6 areas. For the municipalities and Treaty First Nations, they actually appoint to our board. So they run their own elections, and then they choose someone to sit on our board. And it can be the elected electoral areas sit for 4 years. The appointed members is at the will of their councils. So sometimes we might have the same, for the city of Port Alberni, last year or the last 4 years, they would switch each year. It would be a different person every year. So it's the will of their councils for that. And to give an idea of the services we provide in this area, and how Alison had talked about, you can participate in different services. So out here we have the West Coast Landfill, the Long Beach Airport, we have Millstream Water, we have a transit service. That one was just recently, I know, hot topic for a lot of people. And the other thing I was going to mention is it's the number of directors you have on our board is based on population, and it's in the Local Government Act. So the city, their population is larger, so they actually have 2 reps on our board. So we have a 14-member board. And this just shows you the boundaries of our regional district. We're a big area, and part of the reason we do school trustee is we're the same boundaries as the school district. So the only difference with them is they have 2 trustee areas. So this is trustee electoral area 1, which is the West Coast, Long Beach, Tofino, and Ucluelet. So what I'm here today for is to talk about, if people are interested in running for a Long Beach electoral area director or school district trustee. And there's 1 seat from this area. Time commitment, it's similar to councils, I would say. We've got 2 board meetings per month. Committee of the whole is required. They sit on different outside boards, and like 911 Corporation, we have a rep that sits on that. Chamber of Commerce, so quite similar to the District of Ucluelet. So I'll just briefly touch on School District 70 Pacific Rim. So again, they set policies and budget is one of the first things they deal with as well. And they have I don't have the actual number with me today, but they have a very large budget that they manage, and that's one of the first things they're faced with. So there are 7, as I mentioned, there's 1 trustee representing the West Coast, but altogether there are 7. So in the Alberni Valley and Banfield, there's 6, and that's representing the city, Banfield, Sprout Lake, Beaver Creek, Cherry Creek, and Beaufort. School district time commitment, they have 1 board meeting per month, committee meetings throughout the year, and as Alison mentioned, they have a lot of public appearances, open houses, and different things that they are quite busy attending those kind of things. I'm not going to go over this again because it's exactly the same as what Paula mentioned. So the only difference being that, nomination packages can be picked up at the regional district office, the District of Ucluelet, or the District of Tofino. The deadlines are all the same. And again, we're encouraging people to make an appointment to come and file their papers with me. For West Coast, Long Beach, and trustee, it has to be filed with myself, Chief Election Officer in Port Alberni. You could fax in by the deadline of September 9th. Your package to me, but then I would need the original in my hands by the 16th of September. And we do encourage, don't wait till last minute, because, if you're missing something, not good to wait till last minute. 3:45 on the 9th probably is not a good idea. Campaign period, I actually, I think I have the same as, this is the same again, just our expense limits for candidate expense limits are a bit different for electoral area director and school trustee. We don't manage the campaigning part of it, so if we get any questions, we refer you to Elections BC. Inaugural meeting of our board, that's where our board takes their oath of office, is November 9th. We have an elected officials training session set for November, and we're planning to, in the new year, do some more training sessions. For example, one around communications, and then another around freedom of information, protection of privacy, and kind of break it up that way, because it is a lot to take in one session. So we're working on that now, and then the school district has theirs on November 8th. And that's all I had, and if anyone has any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them, and feel free to reach out to myself or Heather Zenner, my deputy, anytime. I'd be pleased to answer any questions, and we have a lot of good information on our website as well. And thank you.
I just want to add too that, we have an election system in Canada and in British Columbia that is really the envy of many places in the world. We have exceptionally secure elections, and it's because we have people like these who spend a lot of time training. I know how much training goes into this, and really to protect our elections. And I think, this is something we don't reflect on very often, but we should be very proud about the security of our elections and the professionalism that's demonstrated by election officials. So we're very, very fortunate. And Canadians go around the world to teach and train people how to hold secure elections. So thank you to you two. Yeah.
Thank you. And I did bring binders with me if anyone's interested in picking one up. Not to intimidate anyone, but they are it's a lot of good information, but it's not everything you have to fill out in there. So.
So if there's no questions, I want to encourage you on, even though we've kind of flooded you with information and given you all kinds of cautionary tales and advice, but it really is just to say again, this is just such an important part of our society, of our system of government, and should you decide to run and should you be fortunate enough to be elected, I want to commend you for taking on the job and playing such an important role in our community. And I wish you all well, and I congratulate you on your courage and bravery to even consider taking on the job. Anything you ladies want to say?
I think so. Do you have anything else? No. Just if there's any questions or.
Other than the fact that the packages are available down at the municipal office Monday to Friday. And if anyone has any other questions, just email or give us a call. You can call and ask for Joey or myself.
Yeah, and I'm available. I'm really easy to find online, or these ladies can pass on my contact information. I'm happy to have a phone call or receive an email from you. So good luck to you all. Thanks for coming.